The Philippines, an archipelago of over 7,000 islands in Southeast Asia, with a history as diverse and complex as its geography. From ancient kingdoms to colonial rule, from world wars to independence, this nation has endured centuries of transformation. Today, we'll journey through thousands of years of Filipino history, exploring how various cultures, colonizers, and global events shaped this remarkable country. Understanding the key moments that defined its identity and continue to influence its path forward in the 21st century. Ancient Philippines, pre-1521. The story begins thousands of years ago when the first inhabitants, the Negritos, arrived via land bridges during the Ice Age. Around 2000 BCE, Austronesian peoples migrated from Taiwan, bringing agriculture, metalworking, and maritime skills. These groups established the foundation of Filipino culture. By 900 CE, sophisticated societies emerged. The Laguna copperplate inscription, dating to 900 CE, represents the earliest known written document in the Philippines, showing connections with the Majapahit kingdom. Trading kingdoms flourished, including the Rajahanate of Manila, the Kadatuan of Dapitan, and the Sultanate of Sulu. The barangay system developed as the basic political unit, led by datas. Trade networks connected the islands to China, India, and the Malay world. Islam arrived in the 14th century through Arab and Malay traders, establishing strong roots in Mindanao and Sulu. Spanish colonial period. Everything changed when Ferdinand Magellan arrived in 1521, claiming the islands for Spain. Though Magellan died in battle against Lapu-Lapu in Mactan, Spanish colonization began in earnest with Miguel López de Legazpi in 1565. The islands were named Las Islas Filipinas after King Philip II of Spain. The Spanish introduced Christianity, with Catholic missions becoming centers of colonial control. The encomienda system granted Spanish colonists control over Filipino communities and their labor. Manila became the western terminus of the lucrative Manila-Acapulco galleon trade, connecting Asia with the Americas. Spanish rule brought significant changes: the imposition of Christianity, the introduction of Latin script, new crops like maize and tobacco, and European-style education for the elite. However, it also meant exploitation, forced labor, and the suppression of indigenous cultures and beliefs. José Rizal, through his novels Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, exposed colonial abuses and inspired national consciousness. The Katipunan, founded by Deodato Arellano and later led by Andrés Bonifacio, organized armed resistance. The Philippine Revolution began in 1896 with heroes like Bonifacio and later Emilio Aguinaldo leading the fight for independence. American colonial period, 1898-1946. The Spanish-American War in 1898 dramatically altered Philippine history. The Treaty of Paris ceded the Philippines to the United States for $20 million, ignoring Filipino independence aspirations. This sparked the Philippine-American War, 1899 to 1902, a brutal conflict that cost hundreds of thousands of Filipino lives. American colonial policy differed from Spanish rule. The Americans introduced public education in English, democratic institutions, and modern infrastructure. The Philippine Commission, and later the Philippine Assembly, provided limited self-governance. William Howard Taft implemented the policy of benevolent assimilation. Economic changes included the introduction of free trade with the United States, large-scale agricultural production for export, and American investment in mining and manufacturing. The Pensionado program sent Filipino students to study in America, creating a Western-educated elite. World War II brought devastating occupation by Japan, 1942-1945. The Bataan Death March, guerrilla warfare, and civilian massacres marked this dark period. General Douglas MacArthur's return and the Liberation Campaign restored American control, but the Philippines was left in ruins. Independence and Modern Era, 1946 present. On July 4, 1946, the Philippines gained independence with Manuel Roxas as the first president. However, the new nation faced enormous challenges: war damage, economic dependence on America, and the Hukbalahap rebellion led by communist guerrillas. The Cold War era brought American military bases and alignment with Western policies. Presidents like Ramon Magsaysay focused on rural development and defeating the Huk Rebellion. Economic growth in the 1950s and 1960s made the Philippines one of Asia's most promising economies. Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in 1972, beginning 2 decades of authoritarian rule. While some infrastructure projects were completed, corruption, human rights abuses, and economic mismanagement characterized this period. Opposition grew, particularly after the assassination of Benigno Aquino Jr. in 1983, the People Power Revolution of 1986 peacefully overthrew Marcos, with Corazon Aquino becoming president. This bloodless revolution inspired democratic movements worldwide and restored democratic institutions in the Philippines. Today, the Philippines continues developing as a middle-income country, with a growing economy based on services, manufacturing, and overseas Filipino worker remittances. The nation grapples with poverty, corruption, and regional conflicts while maintaining its democratic institutions and vibrant civil society. From ancient barangays to a modern democracy, the Philippines has traveled an extraordinary historical journey spanning millennia. We've witnessed how indigenous peoples created thriving societies, how Spanish colonization brought Christianity and global trade connections, how American rule introduced democratic ideals and modern education, and how Filipinos fought courageously for their independence and freedom. Through foreign domination, world wars, dictatorships, and peaceful revolutions, the Filipino spirit of resilience has remained unbroken. Today's Philippines reflects this complex heritage, a unique blend of Asian, Spanish, and American influences that creates a distinctly Filipino identity. The challenges continue, from economic development to social inequality, from natural disasters to political reform. Yet history shows that Filipinos have consistently overcome adversity through unity, determination, and hope. As the